We're up.
Hello, everyone. I'll give you a few minutes to give time for folks to sign on. We'll get started in about a minute or two. Welcome all, thanks for joining. I will give it another minute to give folks a little bit of time to sign on to the webinar. All right, let's go ahead and get started. Hello all, and welcome to today's webinar hosted by the California High-Speed Rail Authority in partnership with AYA, Introducing Youth to American Infrastructure. Today's webinar, Moving the Country, Women Leading in the Transportation Industry, will take us through the career pathways of three very inspirational women working within high-speed rail and the transportation industry in some capacity. I want to thank our panelists who have taken the time to chat with us today because their work in the field is truly inspiring. My name is Jacqueline Castro, and I am currently the Outreach and Student Engagement Specialist at the California High-Speed Rail Authority. I oversee our Student Outreach I Will Ride program, in addition to helping with various other external affairs tasks as assigned. At the same time, I'm also a graduate student in the San Jose State Mineta Master of Transportation Management program, so I have a lot of free time on my hands. Again, thanks all for joining. And to start us off, Melissa Figueroa, Chief of Strategic Communications, will provide a quick project overview of the California High-Speed Rail program, as well as detail some of the really important and notable work that the authority is doing on matters of diversity, equity, and inclusion. Melissa has served as the Chief of Strategic Communications since 2019 and has been in various leadership roles in the executive branch and the California legislature. You'll hear more about her extensive experience throughout the panel discussion. And more personally, Melissa has also served as my mentor for the last 5 years and has helped me quite a bit to start off my career in transportation. So I'm excited and happy to pass it on to Melissa to do a quick project overview.
Thank you so much, Jacqueline. It's been a pleasure to be your mentor. And welcome everyone to our webinar today. We appreciate you taking time out of your busy days to join us for this. We hope it's an engaging and inspiring conversation for all of you during Women's History Month, which we're so proud to celebrate. We're going to go ahead and start with a brief overview of the High-Speed Rail project. We can go to the first slide. It's a short video. Let's take a quick look.
By just having this project, it's opened so many opportunities for so many people. It makes me proud. I have 2 little girls who already know when they pass by a construction site, that's mommy's job.
I just love that video. We show it in most of our presentations these days. It's short and to the point on the impact and the magnitude this project is having in the Central Valley and beyond. We can go to the first slide, but just to give you an overview, we just crossed a really major milestone last week with 13,000 labor jobs created, and you saw a handful of those in that video of the men and women working on this project, and makes us really proud each day to come to work to be able to provide opportunities for them and so many others. So the mission of the California High-Speed Rail Project, of course, is to initiate the construction of high-speed rail in speeds exceeding 200 miles an hour or greater between San Francisco and Los Angeles, Anaheim for phase 1, and then up to Sacramento and down into San Diego for phase 2. We're making strategic concurrent investments that are linked over time to provide mobility and economic development opportunities at the earliest possible time around California. And we're positioning ourselves to construct additional segments as funding becomes available. We can go ahead and go to the next slide. Our program is 494 miles. It goes again from San Francisco to LA Anaheim. That's that line in blue you see on your screen. And then the stations are the circles within that. We've got the first 4 Central Valley stations under design and construction in the Central Valley right now: Merced, Fresno, Kings Tulare, and Bakersfield. Our system will travel at about 220 miles an hour through the majority of that system, especially in the Central Valley. And it will connect up to 24 stations. And go to the next slide. Right now, we're under construction in the Central Valley of California. That's where those 13,000 jobs I noted have been created. We are 100% environmentally cleared in this segment, 119 miles under active construction right now, 52 miles starting advanced design and pre-construction work that'll take us from Madera up into Merced and then down into Bakersfield. Our initial operations will be by 2030 to 2033. We're expecting track and systems, so that's the track and the electrification systems to operate our systems, to begin in 2024. And then in April, in just a few weeks, we will be putting out a request for proposals for the 2 approved bidders, Alstom and Siemens, for our train procurement. And that's a really exciting moment for us here at High Speed Rail. We're very excited to talk about. Next slide. The Bay Area segment. That is 159 miles in the Bay Area. It's 100% environmentally cleared. It is eligible to begin advanced design, and the corridor electrification for Caltrain, that's about 51 miles in the Bay Area that we're funding partners on, is underway as well. The rest of the segment is currently unfunded, but we're working with our regional and federal partners to pursue funding for that. Our goals, of course, funding approved, would be to begin advanced design work, continue to engage with our partners. We have excellent partners in the Bay Area through the leadership of our team there and constant communication with our stakeholders in the region, and then to continue developing segment funding plans and options so we can pursue more funding for that region. Next slide. Excuse me. Southern California, about the same number of mileage as the other 2 sections, 164 miles there. We're continuing our environmental clearance work. We have another environmental document that will be coming before our board later this summer between Palmdale and Burbank. That will take us to about 464 of the 494 miles environmentally cleared. The Rosecrans Marquardt grade separation that we are funding partners on is anticipated to be complete in 2025. Excuse me, allergies are just so fun this time of year. The Link US project for Union Station is also a project we're helping fund. And the rest of the segment is unfunded. Of course, we're continuing to pursue funding there as we are in Northern California. Excuse me, next slide. Diversity, equity, and inclusion is an area of our organization that I oversee very proudly. We have a task force and an advisory group that meets regularly to ensure the authority is a safe, diverse, and equitable and inclusive department that is representative of the folks that we are touching up and down the state of California and around the state of California. We aim to provide opportunity for all contractors and businesses in California, consistent or exceeding with state and federal policy. We have 11 voting members from the key sections around the program, including procurement, program delivery, legal, small business, human resources, and our regional offices on that task force, and we meet 6 times a year. Our advisory group is a larger group of folks that volunteer their time to make sure that we are doing the best we possibly can within our organization. I am so sorry. They provide us guidance and recommendations related to hiring and promotion. Can we go to the next slide? Excuse me. Jacqueline, do you want to take this on for 1 second while I grab a sip of water?
Yes, absolutely. I can sympathize during allergy season completely. We are very proud to say that at High Speed Rail, that 50% of our executive team is female. And then when you look at our managerial and supervisory positions at the authority, we are split 51% female, 49% male. If you look at our board of directors, and we have one of our board of directors here with us today for the panel discussion, 5 out of the 11 authority board members are female. And we have some really notable appointments from Governor Newsom, such as the first female chief counsel and chief engineer of strategic delivery, which are just really important roles here at our department. And if we look at our total workforce at the California High-Speed Rail Authority, we are split 51% male and 49% female, which has been pretty consistent throughout the last few years. And in the next slide, you can see some of our recognitions because of really this outstanding workforce that we have at the authority. We have been recognized as Employer of the Year from WTS International, WTS Sacramento, WTS Los Angeles, and WTS Bay Area over the last few years. And that's something that we are very proud of. And we have an executive team and executive leadership that is really focused on increasing women's access to these jobs at the High-Speed Rail Authority. And then my program, I Will Ride, I'm so proud of the recognition that we also received from WTS Sacramento, the Rosa Parks Diversity and Leadership Award for the work that we're doing in workforce development and student outreach. And Melissa, do you have anything that you'd like to add about some of these recognitions?
No, you did a great job. Thank you. This is called teamwork, friends.
Fantastic. And then we here in our communications team have been really intentional about celebrating the staff at the authority. And so you can see some of the campaigns that we've had over the last few years, but this is an opportunity for our staff within the team to talk about their career trajectories and to not just talk about their career, but also to share, different things that they like to cook, different things about their upbringing, different advice that they have for groups that want to work within the industry. And that's been really neat to see our team get really excited about showing the public that they work on this project and they have a lot to contribute to this project, and their identity is part of the work that they do as well. So on our next slide, you'll see, I believe, some of our social media platforms. So please do follow us on social media, and you'll stay up to date with everything that's going on with our project, as well as a lot of these initiatives that we have going on to celebrate our staff. So thank you so much, Melissa, for taking us through an overview of high-speed rail. And I always really enjoy learning about our DEI initiatives at the authority. We are really leading in the industry, and you can see that with the makeup of our staff at the team. So now on to the next portion of our panel. Our webinar today is our panel discussion. So I'll go ahead and call up Brisha to join us now. Brisha Young has partnered with the authority for about 2 years now as a DEI consultant from CPS HR Consulting. She has 15 years of experience leading teams in human resources for the transportation industry. I had a very fruitful conversation with Brisha as we were planning this webinar, and she also has just so much great experience in the industry. And so I'm excited for her to lead this conversation and really bring in our panelists to talk about their career trajectory and some advice that they have for women who are in the industry, want to move up in the industry, or want to join the industry. So Brisha, go ahead and take it away.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. For all the lovely folks who are joining us today. We have over 100 people here, so we're excited to have you all. As I bring on the panelists, the way today will work. Thank you for coming on, Melissa. Bringing on Emily and Dr. Scott. Come on and join us. You will not be able to ask the panelists questions directly today, but please take advantage of the Q&A chat. Go ahead and drop your questions in the chat. We do have people monitoring. So as you have great, insightful questions, you can ask it in general, or you can shout out a panelist and ask the question to that person directly. We will make sure we will uplift as many of your questions and comments as possible throughout our time. This is just an hour long, so we're going to do this for about 30 plus minutes, so I will not waste time. These women are amazing, and they have so many great tips and insight to provide you today. So let's get started. Melissa, Emily, and Dr. Scott, it is my honor to call you that. But if you want us to call you Beverly, I will. But you have to tell me because I'm going to always give you the highest praise.
Well, you can call me Beverly, so that'll be just fine.
Beverly it is. And if I smile and pause, that means I'm going back. Beverly it is. So thank you so much. Since we heard from Melissa, I'll let you do the introduction last.
Sure.
Beverly, we'll start with you, then we'll go to Emily, and then we'll go back to Melissa. Please let the folks at home know a little bit about you and your connection to high-speed rails.
Okay, well, first, in terms of the connection to high-speed rail, I serve on the peer review committee. It's a legislatively mandated committee, and have the pleasure of working with members of the team, but we're an independent group and we take a look at the overall financial the financial standing, if you will, in terms of the program and the strategic plan that's outlined in terms of the business plan, and provide our direct recommendations to the state legislature and to the administration, and work very closely with the team at High Speed Rail. So it's a real privilege to serve on that. And then I've been in this industry now. I am the grandmother here. I've been in the industry really 45 years. Okay. I laugh and say that I fell into this industry. I started out in academia. I'm a proud graduate of historically Black colleges and universities. I claimed Fisk, Howard University, for my graduate degree. And then I first started out as an assistant professor of government and public affairs at Tennessee State University. So I claimed them all. And it was from there in 1976, and I'll go into this further, but when I laugh with young people, because my pension is around people readiness and workforce development. But when I talk to young people, I often say to them that about mentoring. And I fell into transportation because a former professor of mine sent me, when you still had to send mail, he sent me a piece that said, "Thought you might be interested in this." And it was a Carnegie Houston Urban Fellows program. Long story short, I was one of 4 people they selected back in 1976 before there ever was a Houston Metro. And it has been my career ever since. So then I'll punctuate this. So when people ask me, they say it's been 9 systems. I've had the honor of being the CEO at the 4 of them. They say, Bev, I said, you should ask me why I stayed. And the reason I stayed is not because of the it of being infrastructure, but because I've been blessed to be in the business of community building across this country for the last 45 years. And that's what it is that we do in transportation and across the critical infrastructure sector. So that's my story, and I'm sticking to it. Thank you.
All right, thank you so much. We're gonna come back to that building infrastructure, but let's go to Emily.
Good afternoon. I'm Emily Cohen. I am the Executive Vice President of United Contractors. We represent union signatory contractors of all sizes and scopes across the state of California. I've been with them 15 years. I spent the first 7 as their Director of Government Relations. Last year, I was appointed by the Pro Tem to serve on California High-Speed Rail Board Authority's board. So it's my honor to be there. I'm very passionate about high-speed rail and very dedicated to helping win hearts and minds of Californians and help people hold the vision that we can do big transformational things. That's also part of my passion in being at United Contractors and helping women find the transportation and even broader construction industry and help them believe that they can be here, that there is a space for them, and that that we can do big transformational things as our own person and collectively as women for this industry. And I will just close it with, if you had told me 15, 16 years ago that I was going to end up spending my professional career in this industry, I would have looked right past myself to who you were talking to. But it has been a wonderful industry for me. I think it's a remarkable space for people who love to solve problems, who are risk takers, who have a great entrepreneurial spirit, who are problem solvers, solution focused, and that certainly includes women. So thank you so much for having me today.
All right, Thank you. Emily, I have a follow-up question for you, but we're gonna go to Melissa and I'll come back.
Thanks so much. I'm so flattered to be on a panel with Dr. Scott and with Emily. I think that the work that collectively we're doing in transportation is helping shift the focus and shift what people think about men and women in this industry. And I'm so proud to be part of it. I began my career as a television news journalist, actually, with the goal of communicating to the public and to people. And after a little under 10 years as a journalist, I decided that that was just not the path I wanted to continue down, and I got into public service. And my former chief of staff in the state Senate, which is where I ended up, is really the reason why I got into this line of work, because she showed me what it's like to be a strong, very forward-thinking leader in public service and in a male-dominated field. And I still hold her advice dearly to this day. And because of what she taught me, both personally and professionally, helped, I think, lead me to now working for the second consecutive administration. I worked for the Brown administration for 8 years, and now I've been fortunate to work for the Newsom administration as well. I've served in this capacity for the last 5 years. Prior to that, I was deputy secretary at the California State Transportation Agency. So transportation policy and transportation work has been near and dear to my heart for a number of years now, because of the impact that we have on lives every single day. Sidewalks you walk on, the roads you drive on, the rail that you get to ride on, it all touches every single life in California. And I love communicating that to a broad audience. I love the work that we get to do in comms, because it really works with that nosy part of me where I want to know everything about everyone and puts it to good use. So I really am very, very proud to be part of this group today. So thank you.
Walter, thank you so much. You've all said a whole lot. I want to go a lot of different directions, so I'm going to try to keep it tight for time. But you all brought up something that really linked. Beverly, you talked about that infrastructure, and Melissa just touched on that, about how all these things are connected, the roads, the sidewalks, the buses, and we take that for granted. When I say we, the collective we, society takes that for granted, of saying that it's just naturally there, and not understanding that it takes humans, it takes dedicated humans like yourself for it to actually be there. Now, I want to lean into what Melissa said to tie this back to all three of you. Melissa and Emily, you both mentioned that years ago. Emily, you called out 15 years ago, you wouldn't have saw yourself. So that's going to go into my next question. Transportation is at one point, right, we're changing that landscape, but at one point, transportation was a strongly male-dominated industry. So I've been doing this for over 15 years now, and I didn't exist. It didn't look like me when I first started. So I know what I've been through to be here. And that's my question to you all. With it being a male-dominated industry, with all your years of experience, what did it look like when you first started versus what it is now? I will start with Emily. Emily got kind of sparked it first. So I'll start with Emily. And then
I thought Dr. Scott should start because she's really the trailblazer, but
Yeah.
you know, I think it's the one thing, just to jump to the end here, is men have a really important part to play in helping women find their way in this industry. And that's just because of it's a numbers game. So my mentor was a man who made me feel like I could do this and that I belonged here. And so when women see other women doing this work, that makes it a lot easier to understand that we have a space here and that our talent belongs here and that we belong here. But for me, 15 years ago, and I was coming to a trade association, super male dominated, representing heavy civil contractors. My boss sent me out into the world with 3 pieces of advice. He said, one, I was 24, like barely. And he said, people are going to ask your age. It's none of their business. Don't tell them. He said, whenever you go into a room from here on out, you're going to be the only person in that room. You need to get used to that. And he said, speak up in the first 15 minutes, because if you don't, they're going to ask you to start taking the minutes. And so I have worked really hard my whole career to make sure that I was considered essential, not exceptional. And to, so show up That's what I had to do at every meeting. I didn't have any, I felt the pressure that I don't think men felt, which was like, if I'm going to a meeting, if I'm going to the job, I need to show that I have real value. And so I'm still built that way. I think a lot of women in this industry are. I think that anyone who can relate to being the minority in the space knows what that feels like and what that means. And so 15 years ago, it looks like a lot of men. 15 years later, it still looks like a lot of men with a little, there's some more women. So, but we are making progress. And, you know, and I keep that advice with me, you know, be essential, not exceptional. I don't want to be treated like exceptional because I'm the woman in the room. I want to be treated like I'm essential because I'm bringing value and ideas.
Wow. I'm gonna hold my thought because you just said something really, and you know, I'm gonna say this. I'm gonna make a comment, Beverly. I would love for you to lean into this because when we talk about the historics of women, we're talking about the historics of all marginalized groups, because if it happens to one, then it happens to the next, and then we don't realize that connection that it's happening to all of us. And exceptional has always been if you want to be here, you have to be stronger, better, faster, work harder, exceptional, and that used to be the norm. And Emily, I think you just forget the glass ceiling. You done busted wide open and brought in sunlight, because you're just saying be essential. You just belong here because this is a part of the work. That goes back to Melissa saying someone has to do the work and we are capable of doing the work. Beverly, please lean into that. How does that look from all of your history?
Well, so let me start out and say, and one thing, and we're talking about transportation here, but I want to be clear that this is really as much an infrastructure discussion. Okay. And some of the part that you started out with about, you know, infrastructure was like we almost suffer from the fact that we're all around, but we're hidden in plain sight. Okay. So let me just be real clear. And the reason we do a career awareness, because I laugh and tell people, grown people don't know what is infrastructure. So what would make us think that young people do? Tell me. So I've been very honored over the last 12 years to sit at the presidential level. I wasn't appointed by President Obama. Then I still continued during Trump, and President Biden reappointed me. I'm not saying this for puffery, but there is a National Infrastructure Advisory Council where not just transportation sit at the table, but the 16 defined by a presidential policy directive of the critical infrastructure sectors and CEOs sit at the same table. My big aha moment was to recognize after about 27, 30 years that the other critical infrastructure sectors were suffering from the same types of issues that we were from a people readiness standpoint, technology and all that. Also lack of diversity. And I don't have to make the numbers up. So let's be clear about what we're talking about in transportation. Yeah, been around, there's been a lot of progress, but the best numbers that you can find on our sector is we're up to about 25% women. And last time I looked, women made up 50%. So I always laugh. I come out of the trains, buses, ferries side of the house, and they've done a little bit with tunnels and stuff like that. But this is across the mode. So we have come a long way. That's true, because when I started out, but let me tell you this, if you went on any shop or depot floor right now and can find, I don't care where it is, if it's in energy, so let me give you some of the other ones. So of the 16, there are 4 that are defined as lifeline from a national perspective. That is us, transportation, it's water, it's energy, and it's communications. So areas like advanced manufacturing and all that, public health, I'm not going to list them for you, but there's some that you would think would be critical infrastructure, and there's some that you say, oh, I never thought of that, like financial services as being critical infrastructure. And across these areas, women are sorely underrepresented. In fact, transportation for the key ones is standing out pretty well as 25%, and we still have a long way to go. And the other part about it is that no matter where you look, there is clustering that takes place. And that's not just among women, that is also around different ethnic groups. And so when we start talking about diversity from C-suite to the shop floor, and when we start looking at the rooms, who's in the engineering room, who's in the tech room, who's the essential employee on the ground level, we have an awful lot of work to do. So, you know, yes, we have come a long way with the old thing, baby, but we have longer to go. Couple of things I think that have been, and I absolutely, what Emily said, I could just say spot on. Okay. You need to add value. Okay. Everybody needs to add value. So part of that is just yourself. Okay. Now I think we have begun to come a long way longer, let's put it this way, in terms of I've got to prove myself and all of that. However, I will tell you that in the mind, all this stuff, I don't even care about hearing about this imposter syndrome stuff. To me, it's just enabling kind of, ooh. No, you need to believe in we need to believe in who I am, be confident of who you are, and the fact that you deserve, you don't have to explain it, you don't have to whatever, but you do need to be the best that you can be. Okay. And I know that it seems like it's being, and I'm not trying to just like do a rollover, but a lot of the problem, I'll give this example, then Beverly will shut up. I worked 9 places. I have been everything, every kind of a VP, SVP, DVP, everything but an MVP. Okay. Because I always thought that I needed to I had to have more notches on my belt. I had to have more content. And then I'd look at these positions for general managers and CEOs, and the guys that got them hadn't applied. Because I kept thinking I had to keep getting more notches and stuff. The first time I did apply, got it. Okay, now, lesson. And I tell whose fault was that? I could literally have been a general manager or CEO 10 years before. But the confidence, and I know this is a lot of society doing it, but we got to we got to really break free, because if you never get on the mound, you can't hit the home run. And so we have a tendency as women that's gotten better, but be thinking that and this is the stuff we have to kind of like undo. And that's why other women being with women and saying, yes, you can. Yes, you can. It is time for you to make the next move. Is very helpful. The other thing I say too is that, and one reason I love programs like this is that you can never get away from see me, be me. See me, be me. And that I think in terms of Emily, I really, it's like, yes, okay, if I see she's in a trade association and the kind of trade association or whatever, for another woman, a young woman, even it doesn't have to be, to see that and to see you move and to see what you're doing and all that kind of stuff like that. It may seem like it's trite, but it's so amazing that the difference of those examples and stuff really make. So that's Bevs. That's some of the, it does.
Well, Beverly, I will have to say that you might get MVP added to your title. You just lit up the Q&A. So folks, use it. We like it. We'll start prompting your questions now. We thank you so much.
Okay. You're welcome.
Bev is our MVP. She's always our MVP.
Always, I am sure. So Melissa, I'm gonna move over to you.
Yeah.
Emily, Beverly, please feel free to add in after. This question is about maintaining. So we're talking about that diversity, being able to bring in women, bring in this is stated as POC. So I want to acknowledge what that means. That is people of color, for anyone who does not know that. There's also a comment about BIPOC. So that's Black people of Indigenous and color. So if we use terms, I will make sure that either I clarify the term or ask the panelists to clarify the term. We know we're full of acronyms, so we will definitely do our best. Melissa, the question is, as we talk about diversity, as we talk about POCs and looking at the lens of DEI, the question is, how do we maintain the balance moving forward? How do we make sure that this stays at the forefront of the conversations for the next generations?
Sure. I think the first and most important way you do that is making sure your organization and you prioritize it. So if it is an afterthought or something that is a follow-up question on an interview or a resume, then it's not the top of mind. But if it is something that is constantly talked about in an organization, if it's something that's prioritized, if you look around your organization and you see people that you can identify with, that look like you, that talk like you, that dress like you, that are just generally like-minded in some way, shape, or form, it makes you feel more inclusive in that organization. That is important. If you're looking around your place of work or a potential place of work, and you don't see anyone that looks like you, you're less inclined to apply there. You're less inclined to want to work there. And that's what I think we're collectively working to change. It's one of the things that I am so proud about working here. Our organization is almost 50% female. That is a huge accomplishment in transportation, based on what you heard Dr. Scott say. We need to do better. We owe it to ourselves to do better, because women are a value to any organization. We bring a different perspective, we bring a different skill set, and candidly, in some cases, a different energy level. That's a good thing. So you want that to start very early in someone's career. Mentor someone, bring someone in, be their champion, give them an opportunity to learn and to grow and to find something that they might enjoy doing that perhaps culturally is not what is encouraged of them. Last week, Jacqueline and I presented to a group that we just adore in Southern California called DIY Girls. It is an organization that is tailored towards encouraging young Latina girls to pursue careers in STEM. That is not something that young Latina girls are typically encouraged to pursue. We presented to a group of fifth graders and we had the best time. And you have to start young. You have to get people encouraged and engaged that look different than the typical transportation and infrastructure workforce if you want this momentum to shift.
Thank you so much. You just leaned into mentorship, and that was the next question. So I'm going to open it back up to you and then ask the rest of the panelists to lean into it as well. And I'm going to add, so folks, once again, please drop the Q&A and don't mind me if I add to your question, because I want to make sure we get as much good insight as possible. As we talk about mentorship, can we also talk about allyship? Because you mentioned, so Emily stated that it was a man that really told her kind of the foundings of, if you want to be in this space, this is how you have to behave. And sometimes that mentorship and allyship is really interchangeable in this work. So even though we are on this panel and supporting and talking about women, for all the men that happen to be on this webinar, let's give them some encouragement too, to want to be mentors and allies in this space as well. So like I said, Melissa, I will turn it to you, and then let's open it to all the panelists.
Yeah, I mean, I think mentorship, to me personally, it's so important. I've had, I would say in my career, two exceptional mentors, one in the Senate and then one that I've had for a number of years in this organization, also male. And I think they both bring different things to me personally in terms of how I have been able to advance in my career, but I find it really meaningful to do that for others. So I've served for about 13 years in the Sacramento State Executive Fellowship Program, Mentorship Program. I work extensively with students at Cal Poly, where I graduated from, and we work with the Cal and SAC program as well. But those are just small instances of ways to give back. There's always an opportunity to help an up-and-coming professional who will one day no doubt be our boss, excel in this industry, and providing them an opportunity to ask questions about life and career and a safe space to do that. And I always tell all of my mentees, a safe space to fail. We're always going to fail, and that is okay and encouraged. It's making sure that you feel safe to do that and learn from it and not chastised because you have.
Absolutely. I'm going to ask Emily.
I would just summarize, because there's a lot of conversation around mentorship. And I think the bar in some people's minds is set really high. Like, how do I go get a mentor? How do I be a mentor? Like, it's this club. But really what it is it's what Dr. Scott said earlier, which is see me, be me. That's what mentorship is. And that's what it looks like to be one. That's what it looks like to have one, is somebody who inspires you and can help guide you. And what Melissa just said, which is somebody who will give you a safe space to try and fail, and that they are still going to support you and give you that safety. But mentorship is see me, be me. And everyone needs that. And no matter who you are, no matter how high a level or ladder you have climbed, someone was that for you. Maybe you didn't call them a mentor, but nobody gets anywhere completely on their own. Somebody believes in you. Someone believed in you. And so I just open it up that way, because sometimes I think we put this really heavy weight on the term mentor in terms of finding one or being one. And that's what it is. It's see me, be me. And it's part of your journey is to have one and to be one. And you can't get out of that. You have to be a part of that.
Thank you. Absolutely, Emily. So Dr. Scott, you are getting direct questions about mentorship. So please add, but I want to make sure we're uplifting these questions. I'm going to ask this question first and then add as you see fit. This is about the Inland Empire. So,
yes, Lord.
Hello to the folks watching from Inland Empire. This question is, what advice could you give to a Black woman in the middle school level who wants to have a healthy and positive foundation as they grow their career in transportation? Any action steps that they could take would be helpful.
Oh, I tell them to break down those doors. Okay. Now, and you really have to do a lot happens in middle school. Okay. A lot. And it really a lot, because that's where people start. Well, first thing, that's where young people, at the point at which they start framing at least what they think they may want to be. Okay, they may not go there, but that's when it starts coming. And then that's another part. I'm not going to only say that STEAM or STEM is the only thing you can do to wind up in these careers. It's not. Okay. However, when you look at foundations, so kind of across the board, the STEAM it's a really solid one. And the reason I'm saying this, and this is the fifth grader we're talking about, is that is where you'll start seeing oftentimes young people of color and women that won't go those tracks. Okay. And I'm saying they just don't kind of think they fit there, something to, some of it's cultural, some of it's like, oh my God, they got some coding or something like that. And I don't think whatever. And that's where we really have to put a lot of emphasis to just kind of nurture and push. And I say expose. Because we make this stuff so pontifical, like people think they got to be a NASA space scientist, okay? And so everything that we can wind up doing it's about community building. Tell young people, if you never went in what do you know? Infrastructure is shaping it shapes your life. Look at all the things we talked about: water, energy, communications, transportation, agriculture, public health. It shapes your life. And the other thing I tell them is this: if you can, whether you play infrastructure or not, become knowledgeable about it, it's going to play in your neighborhood. Okay. And so as a result, you want to care, you need to care. And when you give them things like you can adopt your street, okay, and I'm saying you can actually make a difference here. You can be the one. So anyway, so you want to do all that kind of stuff. And I would, I'll get on this a couple, and I'm gonna say 2 points, and I'll be quiet. Mentoring. Well, number one, my best two mentors were two white guys. Love them to death. Okay. And I'm saying, and they were in different ways. One was a chairman of my board, and I put a pin in it. He said that the mark of a true leader, and this was 30 years ago, he said the mark of a true leader is not just what you leave behind, but who you leave behind. Who. And so that whole thing in terms of, I thought about that, and I said people readiness. So that I tried to kind of, that is stuck with me. The other is in the whole thing of mentoring, and between Emily and Melissa, they said a mentor for me has been somebody in some cases that they never touched me. Maybe they didn't know me, but they weren't the ones directly, but I saw how they acted. I saw how they presented themselves. I took my cue. I watched them. And in many, so proud to see when they hit the room, like Emily was saying, they hit the room. And I'm telling you, I see some, they hit the room, and I'm telling you, they hit the room, and it was like, oh my God, okay. But they were prepared, they were spot on, they weren't acting, whatever. And I said, geez, I'm just watching this, okay, and I'm loving it. And so, and they never would have ever thought that they were mentors, but it meant so much because they were just out there. So anyway, so mentoring, to Emily's point, doesn't have to be this like really deep, whatever. Now, when you do get into it, though, I will tell you there's a difference between mentoring, coaching, sponsoring, and championing.
Yeah.
And some of this means that we have to get out of, we must intentionally make sure, and this is in succession, we have to bring intentionality to succession. And that means those navigational pieces that I know all the organizations, associations you in, what's powerful, networking, worthy, whatever, we have to bring intentionality. And so, in particularly in not just this sector, but this is the sector I know, all the industry stuff that people just don't know. Okay, they don't know where the scholarships are. They don't know where the grants are. They don't know where the internships are. They don't know what the whatever. The kind of work that's the kind that brings that intentionality. We got to give. I used to tell people, you don't have to give me anything but the key. And that's the key to the doors that need to be open that I'm not going to read about in the generic stuff. I need to have somebody just help me with the key. So then I know how I can better begin to navigate in this space of this infrastructure or this transportation career. So I think it's those kind of things, and then taking it and really being intentional and saying, I want you to come to this meeting with me. I'm going to make sure that you're the one that makes the presentation in front of the board of directors because you're the one that did the work. Okay. And you even have to tell your board that, look, you're not going to be hearing my mouth so much. It's not because I'm trying to whatever, but this is about real professional development. And the people who have done the work, these youngins, are the ones that need to be making the presentations, because I don't need to go to an AMA class for that. The thing that winds up toughening me and making me better is for me to have the opportunity for the exposure. Okay, that and the pride that comes from me being able to be me, do me, and let others see my work. So anyway, I don't want to get over off on that, but all those kind of things like that, you don't have to pay an extra dime for them. That just has to be part of what we do in terms of making sure that we bring that next generation on.
Yeah. Hey, folks on the call, if you don't have your pen and paper, that is okay. This is recorded because Dr. Scott just dropped all type of gems. So go back, watch it again, and get this information. I want to move to I'm going to go to you, Melissa. Emily, this is a two-part question for the both of you. So we're going to circle back. The question is, and it's we're still on mentorship a little bit. And folks, please, we're going to go where you want to go. If you have a follow-up question for anyone, drop it in the Q&A. We'll get it in there as quickly as we can. But the question is talking about the challenges being in a male-dominated industry and trying to partner with other women. So they're looking for advice here, folks, of how do you approach women and to get that partnership in a male-dominated industry. And Emily, they want you to answer that question strictly for construction, that particular challenge as well. I want to quickly say this. Through my years, I have learned that men are quicker to mentor, help, and support because it's less barriers for them. Women are already looking at all the barriers they have through their intersectionality of being, I'm a woman, I'm a person of color, I might have this or that going on, and I already have my barriers. So I can't get over all my barriers and help you get over all of yours. So I've noticed throughout my career, men have been a lot inclined to want to help than women. So I want to put that in that space, because I feel like that's what that person was leaning towards. I hope I'm representing you all well. Keep dropping in the chat. Go ahead, Melissa.
I want to let Emily start with this one, if you don't mind.
Well, just to start like right up front so that I don't forget to say this, there are groups out there for women in construction, often called Women in Construction. So look for those, that's our creative name, or I like to call them Women Aren't in Construction, Why and How to Fix It, but that's too long for a club. So they're usually just called Women in Construction. There's also YOPS, which is Women on the Operational Side of Construction. Awesome group. I can try to send some more information about those. And I'm not sure what the person who asked this question, what they do for a living, but like this year, for the first year ever at this huge heavy civil industry event, there was a Target luncheon for women in heavy civil.
Oh, cool.
It was hosted by Mary Teichert. The first year she did it, it was women only, right? Only women could go. Guess what happened? The men had a huge temper tantrum because they felt left out for the first time. And I told Mary so they had like 300 people there the second time or something. It was a totally sold out show. People were knocking each other down to get in that space. So there are things out there just for women to talk about the issues. to mentor each other, to support each other. There's lots of different things out there, and maybe we can send some of the more specific follow-ups there. Also, I will just say, I think women find each other, because when in any spaces where you're a minority, there's just that feeling like we got to find each other, we got to support each other, we got to lift each other up. If you don't feel lifted up by a woman in your space, there's someone out there. Don't let that defeat you. And it's easy to fall into a scarcity mindset, like there can only be one woman at the board table. There can only be, right? And so you start to feel that. Don't let that get the best of you. You got to hold an abundance mindset. I'm here and I want more women here.
Oh, I love that. An abundance mindset. Yeah.
You know how many things I've written down out of this? I've got like post-its
I know.
everywhere.
I'm already
It's recorded.
I'm glad it's recorded.
I love it. I think to layer onto what Emily said, I think we have to support each other, right? Because there are so few women in this industry, we can't be undercutting each other. So we are naturally, men, women, whatever, we're going to disagree about things. Don't air your dirty laundry in public. Talk to your colleagues one-on-one, work it out, figure it out.
Right.
You have to band together if we're going to succeed. And that, I think, is the great part of this, because we are all in this for the same reasons. We are all in this to show others that are coming behind us that this can be done and should be done from whatever background we come from. When Jacqueline started as my mentee, she was a recent graduate from UC Merced, had no transportation background, but she was from the Central Valley and wanted to do something to give back to her community. Right. I can work with that. I can help, you do that, but you have to pull that out of people and show them that they can have a very important seat at the table, no matter what their age, no matter what their background. But it's a fun thing to be part of, and it's really amazing to see people excel in their careers in this industry, because it's just a great thing. On Saturday, I participated in the MTI San Jose State Leadership Conference for Women, and that was like the coolest 1,000 women I've ever met, spending all their Saturday just talking about ways to uplift each other in this industry, which was very rewarding.
Right. And I always tell people, and don't get confused, okay? There is a difference between personal accomplishment and collective success.
Mm-hmm.
And so that means that, yes, you don't want to be, it's nothing, and there are some times where people just get stupid and they get in this rarefied air, I'm the one or whatever. And that's crazy. Okay. But, sometimes you can't do nothing with stupid. Okay. But sometimes it's just ignorance. Okay. No, what's the difference? Everybody is ignorant. That's a lack of experience and exposure, but stupid, you can't help. Okay. But I'm come back on the point, but it is about collective. And so every step, everybody can make a difference. Okay. So when you get the opportunity to make an appointment, or when I say appointment, I'm not talking about like some big rarefied appointment. I'm just saying how you select your team. Okay. Or who you do what you can, but you have to think about it. You do have to put some intentionality in this and say, you know what? I'm going to do, I got a chance to be able to do da, 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 da. Well, why don't I have whatever? And this whole part about giving people exposure, because a bit of you rubs off. I can't tell you, the Melissa Jacqueline team, I just been loving this. Okay, you know what I'm saying? It's been wonderful. And then to see people pass it on. Okay, so the work that's going on with I Will Ride, pass it on. Okay, and there's just nothing that's ever going to take the place of that. When we have the opportunity to say, who could be that point of contact for me? Who can be the whatever? Think that in terms of the professional development of the person. Okay, that's all. And we just really have to step out and do that. And don't be afraid that somebody's going to say, oh, they're a woman, and that's why they went and advanced another woman. Well, guess what? Okay. So anyway, I'm just owning that. My dad used to tell me when he said when you get to sit across the table, it's supposed to make a difference.
Yeah,
it's supposed to. Okay, and that's a lot of what the whole DEI thing is about. It's to make a difference. So don't be afraid to feel empowered to make a difference. Okay, that's it. Courage.
Courage, confidence.
Courage.
I'm hearing it all, and I'm
Okay.
here for it. So I want to do a follow-up question. This is really important. Thanks again, folks, for lighting up the Q&A. Dr. Scott, earlier you mentioned the mentorship, sponsorship. So they're looking for a little clarification of what's the difference between mentorships and sponsorships. And just for my own personal, if you can lean into it a little bit more on the woman's side, because I can definitely say, folks, when it came to sponsorships, women did show up in my career. Mentorships, not as much. So I love to kind of understand that difference, what those barriers and open opportunities are.
Well, you can get into these relationships where you're somebody's mentor, but I mean, genuine, you're doing the work. You're you're doing the work, but you're not getting that next levels of recognition that really come up, that really, and that's why I don't want to overuse the word intentionality, but that has to happen. Okay. And I'm saying, because no matter how wonderful you are, the point of it is to try to give the other person the opportunity to be able to be seen, to be able to express themselves, to be able to do their thing. And if they're always just right under your arm, okay, right, and they're not getting that their own professional identity recognized, okay, and who they are, then that's where I say the difference comes between, and it's a continuum on mentoring. I don't want to suggest that the use of the terminology is in some way whatever, but it's mentoring, you're coaching, you're sponsoring, you're championing. Yeah, somebody asked you to say, and that's a difference. And I mean, and there's just levels in it. The other thing I'll suggest too is this, is that in assessing people in whatever, most of the time we only are assessing performance in the current position. But when you get to listening to somebody about what do they aspire to do, there is readiness and potential. So if you have the potential and want to go, what I need to do, if I really want to help you, is to help you plug up in the readiness category, the things that you're uncomfortable about, which oftentimes is public speaking and stuff. You'd be surprised. Like when I teach executive classes, Manette and whatever, I have 15-year people that are in the room of all, and one of their biggest fears is, I'm afraid of public speaking, I'm afraid of whatever. And so appreciating those kinds of things and then giving them opportunities to have to do those kinds of things. Okay. And I'm saying it's oftentimes very helpful.
What Dr. Karen Philbrook said this weekend, which again, I write down all these things. Mentorship is you provide them the guidance and the tools to succeed. Championing someone and providing them an opportunity to be their champion is giving them a seat at the table.
Absolutely.
That's a sponsorship.
Nothing beats with the
That's
seat.
a sponsorship. You have to have them there with you leading that discussion.
Panelists, you all have been amazing, dropped multiple gems. It's fantastic. We got 2 minutes. So I'm gonna do my famous thing that I always do in about 30, 20-ish seconds. If you say, hey folks, there's one thing I want you to take away from everything we said on this panel today, what is that one thing you want them all to take away? We're gonna start with Emily.
Do it afraid.
Do it
Just
afraid.
Another way of talking about courage. Don't let your fear of something stop you. I wish somebody would have said this to me a long time ago, it's not about not being afraid. It's not about being fearless. It's about doing it afraid. So it's about, I mean, it's just a different way of talking about courage, but a more specific way. So, getting in the game, staying in the game, choosing this industry, climbing the ladder, finding a mentor, being a mentor, all of that, it can feel scary. Do it anyway. You belong here. You are here because you are talented. You are definitely not here because you're a woman. You're here, you are a woman and you are talented. So grow your career, help other people grow their careers. And along the way, you're going to have to do some of that afraid. Do it anyway.
All right. Absolutely. We're not going to omit anybody for those. We are at time, but if you're hanging on with us, give us 39 more seconds. Dr. Scott, one takeaway. Let them.
Oh Lord, brevity is not my strong suit, so here it goes. I always tell young people, if I could give you any gift, and this is anybody, I'd give you the gift of resilience. I don't wish you any bad, but if you get knocked down, I want you to get back up. And if it takes 3 or 4 times, okay. I always used to laugh and I tell people, I say this, if you knock me down, you better kill me. Because otherwise I'm gonna try to get up. Okay. And I'm saying, and I'm not saying that to be funny, but there are times when there are just things now, and you need to be constructive and look at yourself and see what are the things that maybe I did that contributed to this so you can do better. But there will be times in your life that adversity will hit that you had nothing to do with it, nothing. Okay. And you just have to be able to try to give yourself the whatever to say, a little bit of a pity party. I want you to grieve. I want you to do whatever, but then you got to get back up and you got to get in the race because life it's not for spectators. You got to get back up. You got to get back up.
Absolutely. Thank you, Dr. Scott. So we have it, do it afraid, do it resilient, and Melissa.
That's right.
Take risks.
Yeah.
Take risks. Take all those opportunities that are presented to you and run with them and
Yeah.
learn from them and know that it is okay to fail. That's how we grow.
That's how we grow.
All right.
Yeah.
Do it afraid, do it resilient, and above all else, take some risks. And folks, for me, I'm gonna say if you're fine, you're doing great. If you're frantic, insecure, nervous, and excited, you're on the right track. All right, Kathleen, we're gonna give it back to you, and we thank you.
I needed to hear that.
I know.
Thank you all so much for joining us today for this webinar. I am feeling very inspired, and I will add, as someone who's new to the industry, I went back to school to study transportation. I've been riding on the shoulders of this industry, and it is changing, and there's opportunities, there's scholarships, there's internships. So learn more about all that through our I Will Ride program. Thank you again to all our panelists. I will send a follow-up email to all those who have registered with great resources that were discussed today. And thanks all. Have a great rest of your week.
Thank you, everyone, for joining.
Thank you. Thank you. Bye-bye. Take care.